like to call the meeting to order. If you would stand for a moment of silence, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, welcome everyone, and welcome everyone that's watching at home. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee DeVore?
Present.
Trustee Gatt?
Present.
Trustee Kazam? Trustee Marfell?
Present.
Trustee Wigginton?
Here.
Trustee Weisenberg?
Present.
Okay, we do have a quorum, a pretty light agenda tonight compared to last meeting's full agenda. We would be at approval of the meeting minutes from May 4th, 2021. I'd ask for a motion to approve the minutes.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any questions or corrections to the minutes? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving the minutes signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? The ayes have it. We would be at comments from the audience. If anyone would like to address the board tonight, please come forward to the podium, give your name and address, and try and keep your remarks under 5 minutes. Anyone like to address the board? Going once? Going twice? Comments are closed. Be it old business. Any old business to come for the board? Go ahead.
I just have one thing, Mayor. About approximately a year ago, we discussed some traffic issues up on Glen Elm Drive, and over the last year, we've done numerous studies with the speed trailer tracking data regarding average speed, number of cars. And the reason we started doing this, because there was some requests for a three-way stop sign coming off Francis. I believe there's a yield sign now on the east side of the street. So we've concluded that traffic study through the PD, and my recommendation would be to add a three-way stop at that intersection. I just wanted to bring that back up on your radar. If you have any questions for me or want to discuss it, we sure can. The reason why that was prolonged, normally we don't take a year, but because of COVID, we had some other topics on our plate that were priority. So we did circle back around the last few months and look at that study, and the conclusion was that I am recommending that we put a three-way stop at that intersection. So any questions or comments? I could put this on the agenda for approval next meeting.
No, they speed right around that. I've just gotten to experience it recently, but yeah. Well, have you thought about the other intersections like a lane, or to kind of break it up a little bit, because it seems like they just kind of gather momentum until there. So there are a few other areas in the Heights that we could probably look at. As far as Glen Elm goes, that was a priority. I know our complaints really increased, over that timeline. I know there is another three-way stop just down the street, but I think majority of the violators, they're coming up farther north. So I think this will be a positive for the village and the police department. So that's why I'm recommending that. We can do other studies in other areas, but again, we like to, if they're complaint driven, we'll do what we do, and we'll make sure we get the data to the board, and we'll definitely have a recommendation. So. Well, I have no problem with that one, because it's pretty bad there.
Anything else?
That's all I have on that topic.
Any other old business?
Yes, Mayor Phelan, I have something. Last meeting, we had the approval for well 12 down on Court, and Trustee Weisenberg had asked about warranty. Mr. Chandler got with the contractor. There's a 1-year warranty on their labor, and they default to the manufacturer warranty on any parts that were installed. As far as what the warranty on the parts are, do you have that information? Okay. So there is some sort of a, yeah.
Awesome. Okay. Thank you for following up on that. Appreciate it. Anyone else? Okay, let's move on to new business. A couple of items under new business, under neighborhoods and parks. Trustee Weisenberg, we have an action item, a request for the use of Tower Park for Together We Play fundraiser on Saturday, July 17th, 2021. I'd ask for a motion to approve this.
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
Okay, go ahead, trustee
Thank you. I
Weisenberg.
don't see Mr. Kaiser in the audience. I don't know if the team wanted to say something prior.
We have some representatives from the St. Thomas Robotics team
Okay.
here today.
Please come forward, everybody. Don't be shy.
Yeah, we do have a few new board members, so if you could just give a brief overview of the project. And then,
Can I take my mask off?
yes,
So, we are asking to use Tower Park on July 17th from 2 to 4 p.m. because we want to do an event to fundraise for improving this park to make it accessible for anybody with any disability. And this event that we are doing is called Together We Play in Space. It's going to be a space-themed / Star Wars event for people to come and play in and have a fun time. We're going to have raffles, food, games, possibly music if we can get some band or group to come. And then also, we are doing some pre-ticketing stuff if we get the approval to use this as our event place, since we're making the park here.
all righty, thank you. Any questions? I know this has been on our agenda a few times, but I think we're getting close.
I think it's a great idea. I appreciate their, intense, wanting to get this taken care of, and then they're not worrying about other people. So I think it's a great thing.
Miss Katie Kuby has something typed up she'd like to share with you quickly.
I apologize for being late. It takes a long time to get around on crutches. I want to thank you guys for letting us come out once more and present for you guys. On behalf of the whole team, I thank all of the trustees for their guidance and support, especially Trustee Weisenberg for taking us under his wing and working one-on-one with us. Last year, our team was given approval to build an accessible park in Tower Park. Unfortunately, the COVID-19 pandemic was rough on our fundraising chances. Since that time, we have raised over 12% of our goal of $100,000. As the state begins to open up again, our team has decided to take this summer as an opportunity to hold a fundraising event. We are here to ask your approval of using Tower Park for an event on July 17th to help us raise funds for our cause. The team can bring our own supplies, and we will set up and clean up the event ourselves. We also hope for the event to have a Star Wars theme and have many fun-themed games and activities to go along with it for everyone to enjoy. Thank you.
Can I ask something just a little off, with this, but a little off topic?
Sure.
So you guys are part of the Build Peoria, right now, what they're doing to try to win whoever they're gonna choose. So how is campaigning to get people to vote for you going? Do you know anything about it?
We're basically just kind of taking it one step at a time with creating flyers, creating posters, getting the word out, talking to different people, asking different businesses in the area, put up a sign, tell people about us, updating our website constantly, just basically kind of trying to talk around. We've talked to different representatives, like Darren LaHood is one example, and we've asked him and his team to sort of get the word out, ask us, questions, give us sort of help out to just sort of get the word out, help us find other things to fundraise and things like that.
Great, thank you.
You mentioned a website. What is that website?
On Advocates for Access, they have a website, and if you go to theirs, you can just look up Advocates for Access on Google, and the first thing you'll see a big colorful picture of Tower Park, and it'll tell you, it has a big old heading saying, this is an accessible park in the area, and if you just click that, it'll say View Students Website, and it takes you straight to our website where you can read all about us, all about our journey, how much, you can see how much we've raised so far, how much of our goal, how much we have left to raise, all that good stuff.
Thank you.
Well, we're all very proud of you, and I want to thank you for bringing us this project. I assure you, the village is going to work with you to make certain that this gets accomplished. One way or the other, we're going to do it. Would you tell us who you brought with us tonight? Would you introduce everyone?
Sure. Well, my name is Katie Kuby. Was an 8th grader at St. Thomas when this started, and I'm now a freshman at Peoria Notre Dame High School. And right here we have Mitchell, and that's Christian. And then we have Andy and Julian, and they're all students at St. Thomas still.
Well, thank you all for being here tonight, and you're all to be commended for doing such fine work, so thank you much.
Thank you.
All right, if we're ready, any other discussion? Are we ready to vote? Madam Clerk, call the roll.
Trustee DeVore.
Aye.
Trustee Gett.
Aye.
Trustee Marfell.
Aye.
Trustee Wigginton.
Aye.
Trustee Weisenberg.
Aye.
All right, that passes. Good luck with your event. We hope to see you. We'll all be here that day.
All right, thank you.
All right, next is an action item, a request for use of Tower Park for Express Employment Professionals Job Fair on Thursday, June 24th, 2021. I'd ask for a motion to approve that.
So moved.
And a second. Hi, Katie, welcome. Go ahead if you want to set this up, Trustee Weisenberg. Catherine Fife and O.
Yeah, this is a request to use Tower Park for an Express Employment Professionals Job Fair.
Good evening, Mayor, Chief Sutton, Board of Trustees. Thanks for hearing us tonight. We understand with the pandemic, everybody in our community is suffering. There's a lot of joblessness out there right now. We have jobs. We can put people to work. We just need a space. So what we have proposed is putting together a job fair. We will be actually purchasing gift cards from all of the restaurants to raffle off, hopefully to draw people in. We have Kona Ice and the station that are coming to serve food, and then we're hoping that people will trickle down because this is an all-day event from 11 to 6. I'm hoping we can get some music out here. We will have TV stations out here doing some reporting, and then we'll be advertising all over the place. And we were hoping that you guys would partner with us and put our event out on the front sign and on your website to help promote this. And this is Kylie. She is new to Express, and this will be her first off-site job fair. So this will be really exciting, I think, for the whole community and us as a group. That's about it.
Discussion?
Any questions for us? It's pretty straightforward.
All right, Madam Clerk.
Trustee DeVore.
Aye.
Trustee Gett.
Aye.
Trustee Marfell.
Aye.
Trustee Wigginton.
Aye.
Trustee Weisenberg.
Aye.
Thank you, guys.
Good luck with your event.
Thank you.
All right, Trustee Weisenberg, anything else under neighborhoods?
No, Mayor.
Okay. We'll move on to public safety. The first is a discussion item, regulations regarding parking for boats, trailers, and RVs. Trustee Wigginton, go right ahead and start out, please.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. Well, starting off, I guess I had the pleasure of sitting in on a neighborhood watch meeting last night and got to meet a lot of great people here in the community. And as a testament to Chief Sutton having the finger on the pulse of this community, this very issue came up at last night's meeting as some issues that are being raised by members of the community. So, Chief, if you wanted to take it from here and talk a little bit about it.
Sure, Trustee Wigginton. Well, the topic, obviously, the regulation of boats, trailers, and RVs. We have an ordinance currently regulating them. If you don't know what it is, it has to be on a hard surface. It cannot protrude out farther than the front of the house. That's what we currently have, but what's been brought up to me and the police department is that even making that ordinance more restrictive. So that's kind of where we're at today with some dialogue there. Doing a little research, tri-county wise, there are no ordinances more restrictive than what we currently have. If you wanted to use that as a guideline, but I'm open to we do receive a lot of complaints on this topic. but I'll roll it out to the board for discussion, and hopefully I can answer most of your questions on this topic.
Does the ordinance state that you can occupy or live in the camper or trailer on the property, or just?
That would fall under the nuisance ordinance that we've been enforcing. There isn't anything in that ordinance stating that. Again, we've had a lot of complaints recently on that exact topic, Trustee Marfell, but again, that falls under our nuisance ordinance. We do not allow people to live in the trailer in the front of the property.
And if these trailers need to be properly plumbed and those sorts of things as well, correct?
Well, with the violation of the ordinance comes that topic and what that brings, and that is unsightly and for many reasons to neighborhoods. So, as far as cosmetically, we ask that they be covered. And again, we have a lot of issues in the village that have properties that have boats that are being stored in side yards. And, we have to have clear direction on how we want to attack that, if you want to use that term. But, our ordinance is restrictive, it is, but I think there's some residents in the village that would like to see that even tighten up even more.
Chief, it says in our ordinance that they need to be covered.
Yes, like the cars, if they have to be covered. I don't know the exact verbiage of the ordinance, but they have to be covered if they're stored in the back of the yard, but again.
Can we change that wording to be sure that it's not, I almost think the covering looks worse than if it's just sitting there. So I don't know if we change that to it's a manufacturer-made covering or no covering. Because I feel like when people are trying to follow that ordinance, then we have blue tarps, we have all these things, anything going over to cover it, which I believe is more unsightly.
What I recommended years ago is that if you're going to be storing a boat or a vehicle in the backyard, we did change the inoperable. It has to be operable and street legal and valid. We did change that, but at the same time, when I was revisiting that years ago, I asked that if it would be any type of camper, that it be housed like in a garage or something. But again, that didn't have any support at the time, so we just moved on with the ordinance that we have. So
I thought we had it couldn't be on the street if it was like a boat or a camper.
No, it can't.
It has to be on the property, and it can't just be on the front lawn. It has to be on, it just can't be just pushed up in there. And
it has to be on a hard surface, and it cannot project out farther than the front of the house.
Right.
Now, on the street, that's different. We're talking about private property. That is, you cannot park it on the street either.
I think the coverings also, I feel like that's a public safety issue, right? Like if we're not using a manufactured covering, people could be hiding in boats, they could be hiding in this, so I feel like that's a little concerning to me that any covering will do.
Right, and again, some are very good. Some are secure, some are cosmetically, satisfying. There are some that are very nice, and there are some that are put on and not changed for years, and it does look horrible. But again, that is complaint driven. I'll tell you that it's not something that we have on our priority list as far as the coverings. It's more about placement than anything for us.
Yeah.
And then you have some houses that are, at a cross street that are addressed differently, that a lot of people call in and complain, but when you really look at it, there's a house that's addressed off a certain street that is actually the backyard, and we try to educate them on, what exactly the ordinance says, even though they're not happy with the result.
So are you talking like on something that would be like on a corner lot?
Yes.
So how, with our fence ordinances, the corner lot has a different regulation than
front yard.
Everyone else.
Right.
So maybe that's something we need to look at, because I feel like on a corner lot, your regulations are a little different. Mm-hmm. Because that's someone else's looking at that like it's the front yard.
Yeah, I'm open to whatever change the board would like. I think that I agree. There are some, unsightly boats on properties that have just not been moved for years or months, or that need to be addressed. cosmetically, it's not something that people want to look at that live in the area. But again, we can only do with what our ordinance states, so that's why I thought it would be something to, talk about. So if we did want to, move forward with, code enforcement, we can send them out and we can recommend all day, but at the end of the day, as far as enforcement goes, we have to go by the ordinance. So, and I will say our guys do a great job of working with the residents when we do get complaints to hopefully get some compliance where we don't have to issue a citation or any type of, written warning that they comply on their own and everyone's happy. So that works out, some of the time. But then you have some people that have a copy of the ordinance in their hand when you show up and know what they can and can't have. So, and then again, the neighbors, they don't really understand, what our role is.
I think Trustee DeVore, linking it to zoning is important, especially, down on Galena Road, we have businesses that operate marinas that are putting boats, that's their business. So having it tied to a zoning, would make sense because we can link it to residential, we can separate it from industrial, we could do corner lots. Gotta walk it, I would think, and this is just me speaking, but we gotta walk a thin line as far as, do we want to over-regulate, do we want to under-regulate, so, yeah, but I think zoning is a smart.
Yeah, the people who have corner lots can't put a privacy fence up.
Without a variance.
Right, without variance, but if they gotta be back and we're talking about it's being unsightly and they can't and it's gotta be on a hard surface anyhow, so.
I definitely would like the coverings to be addressed. I think that's a top priority. I agree that we are walking a fine line. This is someone's personal property. I don't want to tell them they can't have a boat or an RV or, anything like that, but, it needs to be a little bit more appealing to the eye.
So regarding the coverings, using a tarp versus an actual boat cover, my initial concern is if you just throw a tarp on it, they are designed to fit the boat.
Correct.
So it could puddle water.
Right.
Yes.
Mosquitoes could become a public health issue.
But they also blow off in the wind and then they're on
Right.
the driveway. Now you're working on a rodent issue as well.
Right.
Lots of things.
Right, I agree.
And I would say only probably half of the boats, actually have covers on them, and then that varies as well. So again, and we are 100% reactive on that complaint. We're not, our guys aren't going around checking that out, but there is no, out of probably, 40 boats, you've got 40 different covers,
Right.
But you're exactly right. There's some other issues, and that's not so much of a complaint as it is just the eyesore of on a trailer parked in the side yard and half on the grass, half on a hard surface, and those are small fixes there. We can get them to move them, but again, and a lot of that goes back to it goes back to just neighbor disputes that have been going on for years, and that's just one issue.
Do we know how other towns, Chillicothe, Morton?
That's what I was referring to. We did look into it, and we could not find anything in the surrounding areas that regulate boats, what they can and can't have. Our ordinance is the most restrictive that I've found, and majority of them don't have anything.
So is that just being governed, do you think, by homeowners associations?
I'm sure, and I don't know if, the comment about the trailer, about the nuisance ordinance that we use for living in a trailer, they could be using another ordinance to police that. I don't know, but they don't have anything on the books that actually just regulate trailers, boats. They must be using a different ordinance, but I didn't find anything around us.
Can you get us a copy of our current ordinance?
Sure. That is online as well, but if I can get a hard copy for you.
I'll go online, get one.
Okay, all right.
So I'm hearing enough of you that want to continue this discussion. So Trustee Wigginton, I would ask if you would, hearing all this, draft some other items for discussion in consultation with the administrator and maybe village council, just to bring this to one more discussion, and if we decide at that point we want to make an amendment to the ordinance, we can do that.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
That sounds great.
Okay.
Mayor, just briefly, and the other thing I will be bringing to the board is that I think there are a handful of ordinances that need to be revisited in the village that even, I would say, trump this, that we get more complaints on that we should probably discuss. So I'll be bringing those to the village as well, and Trustee Wigington and I will meet tomorrow, and we'll kind of go over a few of those and bring them back to you.
Not the burning, I hope.
No. On the top of that list would probably be the motorized bicycles. I think that's an ordinance that we get a lot of complaints, so.
Okay, one more discussion item. Regulations regarding temporary lodgings, Airbnb. Go ahead, Trustee Wigington.
Thank you, Mayor. And yeah, the bikes issue, just to touch on that, that was another issue that was spoken about last night, and I heard a new term for those bikes that I hadn't heard before. But anyway, the temporary lodgings. Now, this honestly was not an issue raised at last night's neighborhood watch meeting, but certainly some forward thinking here. So, Chief Sutton, if you wanted to talk a little bit about this.
Sure, and again, I'll roll this out to the board, because I think that they've received more, questions on this than I did. But what I've heard, they've been asked some capacity issues. If these houses are rented out as an Airbnb, what are the capacity issues? And I believe I've got Mark Walton working on that now, but I believe it would roll back into what that property is zoned. But trustees, I know that you've received some calls on this, and, what were the complaints?
Sure. I've actually received a few complaints on this, and just to share some of my thoughts on this is that when someone opens an Airbnb, they're taking, sometimes they're private resident, sometimes it's a rental that they've turned into an Airbnb. So they're taking a property and they're converting it to a commercial use, and we're slapping a 5% tax on it. And it never goes through zoning, which is kind of weird to me, because any other commercial entity has to go through zoning and get like a special use or something like that. So without that process, the company doesn't have to account for parking or, the safety of the building or anything. They just open it up for commercial use and totally skipping the zoning process for any other business. So some of the complaints I'd received was that if, someone opens an Airbnb in a neighborhood that doesn't have the parking capacity and they advertise it for 20 people, I'm just throwing that number out there, and suddenly you have a neighborhood that's already struggling, we all know that, with parking, and suddenly you have 20 more vehicles, that was a concern for the resident that brought this issue to me. And this particular Airbnb, and sorry, I think I forgot to send it to you, Trustee DeBoer.
You didn't send it to me.
Did I or didn't?
No, you didn't.
I didn't think so.
That's okay.
But they were advertising like lodging in the basement. Now, do they have proper egress and all that other stuff to advertise lodging in a basement? I don't know if they do or not. But I assume those are issues that would have been covered under zoning if it was a business that opened lodging.
Correct, and I do think with the increased popularity of this, it's something we need to revisit, because we didn't drill too far down on this last time we discussed it. So I think I've had some dialogue with Mark Walton on this. He said he's going to work on a few things. I do think we need to tighten up, how we monitor those. I do, and you're exactly right. And as far as the egress, that if they're going to have people in the basement, I'm not going to speak for the fire chief, but I'm sure he could tell you what exactly they need as far as code-wise, but they're not exempt from that stuff. So but we have to have something in place regulating it, so I agree.
Yeah. And maybe it's something the law just hasn't caught up with yet.
So I think Airbnb though has fairly strict regulations. So did we find out if what Airbnb's regulations are for those properties? Because I don't think Airbnb will allow you to say you can sleep in the basement without an egress window. I think they have to have pictures proving that to Airbnb before they'll list it.
Correct, and I don't know if the village has to have a component in place to trigger that, and that's what I asked Mark to find out.
Okay.
What do we have to do on our end to make sure that, that's covered? And I guess that's because I really don't know a lot about that.
Yeah.
So he's doing a little bit of research, and at next meeting, I'll have something to report on that.
Yes, I'd ask you to do the same for this item, Trustee Wigington, if you would speak with the administrator, speak with council, and start a draft
Absolutely, yeah.
I have one question to add to that. So when we have a property that is a rental property now, they have to go under the landlord registration program. So these Airbnb properties, are they having to go under that program as well? Because we should be inspecting them just like we are rental properties.
They are.
They do have to register?
Yes, they
Okay.
are, yep.
Okay, so then we are getting in, we're inspecting them anyway.
It is, but it's a different inspection.
Right.
It's a little different than what.
Okay, so just in my theory is
Yeah.
that if we're inspecting them and there's 10 bunk beds in the basement with no egress windows, that would, raise a flag, like, hold on.
Well, usually that will trigger, Shane Murphy, that will trigger up the chain from the police department to look into, and then we get Chief Thompson involved as far as the living in the basement, and that'll trigger a lot of different things, but they are under the landlord registration program.
Is there a way to make it so that these Airbnb properties have to be investigated every year or inspected every year instead of, because what is it now, like a rental property is every other or every?
Usually the way with the amount of properties that are in the program, it averages out to be unless it's complaint driven, it's every 3 years is what it averages out to be.
Okay.
But we could.
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
But we could change, that could be changed as far as that classification. That
Sure,
would be
like
something-
just the Airbnbs?
Yes,
I think
annually.
I think that'd be a good idea.
Because we don't have that many where we couldn't change that, and we have the manpower for that.
So just a follow-up question to what Trustee DeVore asked. Under our rental program, could we have a landlord rent out, let's say, a 700 square foot house, and would we allow that landlord to fill that house with like 20 people?
No, I think that would fall under the zoning issue as far as what they could have in R1 and.
Right, and that was one of the questions about the Airbnb. It's an 800 square foot house, but they're advertising it to like house like 15 people.
I think with the popularity that we do, I think we have to have a mechanism in place that will police that. We have a few things in place now that will at least trigger some, some questions, but I think to have an actual, and that's what I've asked Mark Walton to come up with, is kind of make it seamless so there is nothing falls through the cracks.
Okay.
And Trustee Weisenberg, if you wouldn't mind, you alluded to some sort of listing that you have. If you wouldn't mind forwarding that, and I know that Chief Sutton and I will talk about that tomorrow as well.
I'll try to get it to both of you.
It is listed as it sleeps 15?
I think it's like, I was just on that number, I think it's like 10 or something like that.
That's still,
That's still a lot for an 800 square foot house, I mean.
I know, but how many, it depends, because some of them will put like bunk beds in one room and then like a queen bed in another room.
No, I'm saying that, but what if, I hate this with whatever happened, what if it caught fire and the fire department shows up and you got an 800 square foot house and there's 15 people in it?
Well, I don't think you should do that, but I'm just saying, like,
No, I
if you
know.
had.
That's why I brought up the safety issues with the fire department and codes, because, I'm sure there's codes that regulate.
For hotels, yes, it's 200 square feet per person for a hotel.
So.
But in a.
This is falling into residential, so I would rather hear what the attorneys have to say about it.
Sure.
And it's even
It's kind of a gray area, because you're really not, at 101, that's what we're trying to enforce here, we're doing that, the life safety code.
Sure.
And it's under residential, so it's kind of a gray area for us right now. I'd really like to hear what the attorney has to say about it. Because when I was questioning him, we were talking with the attorney last week, he was, kind of debating if we could even enforce it or not.
It's kind of a gray area, because it's not really residential if they're operating it commercially. I just don't think the law's caught up yet, I mean, I don't know.
Well, I think we're moving our way, obviously, to an ordinance to address all this. I personally think that an Airbnb has a lot of regulations already in place, like Trustee DeVore pointed out, but there may be other temporary rentals out there that we also need to get our arms around. So, Trustee Wigington, if you would bring this back before us as soon as possible, we'd appreciate it.
Thank you.
Anything else under public safety?
No, that's it. Thank you, Mayor.
Chief, anything on fire? Anything on police?
Take a look at the doors outside, we got markings on all the overhead doors now.
I like that. It looks great.
It looks great.
Anything under police? Okay. We would be at miscellaneous business. Any miscellaneous business to come for the board?
If we wanted to look at another intersection in the Heights and start the traffic review to adding another stop sign, is that just a matter of getting you the locations and then we could roll off the cart and do the survey.
Yeah, if you send an email, Trustee Weisenberg, to me with the intersection, we have a format we use. And again, it does not take as long as this did, but because of COVID, it kind of prolonged it. But if you want to send me that, we'll do what we do. Yep.
Thank you.
Go ahead. Superintendent Casey, go ahead.
Yeah, I have one thing. I got with the Peoria Heights High School, Principal Terry Mooney, and we put the class of 2021 banners up the Public Works did for them for the graduating class. So if you're out and about, we put them in Tower Park and ran up and down Prospect. So just congratulations to the class of 2021.
Those banners
Thank
are
you.
awesome.
I
I
love
love those banners.
I do too.
Anyone else? Just my personal thanks to everyone who helped with the art fair. Barb and Teresa, I see Julie here tonight, and Public Works and Fire and Police and Administration who pulled that off without, I believe, I'm not aware of any trouble other than a whole lot of foot traffic and a whole lot of sales, and I had at least 2 business owners tell me it was their best Saturday, I think, ever, but go.
No, you're correct, Mayor, and thanks for bringing that up. And I want to also thank the Public Works Department for, setting up, tearing down, did a great job. It was a great event. We had zero issues, and I will tell you, one of the best decisions the board made was to shut down Prospect instead of just one lane. The rerouted traffic, I thought it was a minor inconvenience considering the amount, but it really was a good event, and everyone did a great job. So thank you for that.
Okay, hearing no other miscellaneous business, I entertain a motion to adjourn.
I move to adjourn.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Adjourn.